One of the closest friends I have in the world, one of my chavrusas, and someone I used to work for, once called me into his office, maybe 10, 12 years ago, more, yeah, like 12 years ago, and gave me a really polite, sugar-coated version of, just get it done, or we'll find someone who will. And he was referring to my weakness of tinkering and modifying and waiting and fixing until I was ready to launch, X, Y, or Z. And his words at the time, although he wasn't trying to be profound, he was trying to be pragmatic and get me to just do X, Y, or Z. His words really stuck with me, and it's something that I have been working on myself with over the last decade and a half. Why am I starting a video or a podcast or whatever you want to call it with that message? And it's because I sat here as I'm about to record the very first episode of my new podcast, or my new video series called The Status with Aliyah Wolbrom, and that's me. I sat here trying to figure out not just how should I launch, when should I launch, what should I do, where's the studio, where's the soundboard, where's the producer, where's the script, where's the run of show, but even as I sat here, how do I open? Do I say welcome? Do I say good morning? And his words just kept echoing, just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Anything incredible started at A. So that's how I decided to start this video. So with that, let me welcome all of you, all million, billion, trillion of you, to this video series that, like I said, we're calling The Status with Aliyah Wolbrom. The name may ring a bell if you know me from my WhatsApp status, which is probably where most of you know me. And if you don't know me from there, it's still an okay name, because I plan on using this platform or using this video to sort of talk about what's going on in the world, what's going on here in Eretz Yisrael, what's going on in my head, and things like that. So between the play on words with status, vis-a-vis WhatsApp, and just it being a decent word, that is the working title of this new series, which I finally, Baruch Hashem, have decided to start. So with that, welcome and thank you for listening. As I said, my name is Aliyah Wolbrom, and some of you may know me just from WhatsApp. Some of you may know me in person. Some of you may know me from the United States, Staten Island, New York. Some of you may know me here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. You may know me in person here, but probably not. You may have seen my face or things that I wrote or shared on WhatsApp, and you live here as well. So wherever you're from, wherever you found me, or if it's the algorithm, welcome and thank you for tuning in. This is something that I really didn't plan on doing for so long. It sort of kind of happened, just by way of, I guess, introduction, and by way of just explaining the genesis of why I'm finally doing this. And I think it's reasonable as a first intro show to sort of give the genesis. I'm not just another person who wants to have a show, and I really am not. If you know me, you know that. I've been very active on my WhatsApp status. That's pretty much the only social media I really use. Sorry, I just got some flies here. And about 3-4 months ago, a well-known podcaster here in Eretz Yisrael approached me to sort of have a show on his platform, and I was intrigued. I thought about it, and I actually gave a yes. And I'm very uncomfortable on camera, as you can tell, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. But I do have sort of an agenda, and that is bringing Mashiach and building the Beis Hamikdash and all the steps that have to happen along the way, including bringing my brothers and sisters here in Eretz Yisrael, and that's something that, if you know me, you know I'm very passionate about. So I figured it would be a good next step to be able to get that message out there. And if I have the use of a nice podcast room and producers and all that fancy stuff, I thought maybe it would be worth my time. So long story short on that is that it didn't actually work out. I think we both wanted different things out of it, and we said thank you, but no thank you to each other. But I did, in that process of deciding if I wanted to do it, I did start building out what I thought it would look like. And even though we both went our separate ways, I kind of had this on the back burner. Not too long ago, even more recent, another brilliant mind here in town asked me about doing something, and I also said, yeah, let's do it. And I was telling him how it really needs to look great. It needs to be professional. First impressions are everything. And, we could get a studio and different shows. And we decided we're going to talk after Pesach. And that is something that I still want to do. And I think I will. And this may, blend into that. But going back to the way I opened up this episode, if I wait for that studio to be ready, and if I wait for all the pieces to come together, and I wait for the perfect whatever it is, I'm just never going to do it. So I decided I'm going to just start. I have a camera. I'll have my phone. I have this really silly tripod, which you can't see. I got myself a really cool mic here in town. Thank you to Cellular E. And which I bought, and see, really fancy. Like, I don't know the first thing about this stuff, but they helped me and I got it. And I said, I'm just starting. I'm just going to start, and this is really a proof of concept for me. Can I go on camera every couple of days? Am I uncomfortable? Is anybody watching? Is there even anything to say? Can we do a podcast once a week, 2-3 times a week? I don't know. So that was sort of why I decided let's just do it. Let me see if this works. Tangentially or secondarily, I do have a pretty active, I think, for at least I think, WhatsApp status that yields a lot of engagement with people from all around the world, people here in Eretz Yisrael, people in New York, and really everywhere, Australia, the UK, some Canada, all across the US, all across Eretz Yisrael. And some of it is hate mail, some of it is love mail, some of it is just questions, and some of it's comments, and it's really been very fascinating, to be honest with you. And the issue is that after, I can't respond to everybody, and I like to write. That's primarily how I communicate on WhatsApp. I don't go on camera almost ever. So it's a lot of long form written stuff. I kind of use my WhatsApp status as a journal or a vlog, whatever you want to call it. And if people read it, great. If people don't, that's also fine. I don't generally have my my reads on, my WhatsApp reads, which means I can't see how many people even look at my status, which is why I have my reads off. I don't want to know. This isn't something that excites me. I don't monetize it. It's just not my thing. I want it to be as altruistic as possible, and I think seeing views and that type of thing is not good for maybe someone like me who have an ego or strong-minded, whatever it may be. So knowing myself, I shut that off years ago. So anyway, the issue is that I have so much more to say, and people I think want to hear what I have to say with some of the stuff that I post on status. That's not me being pretentious. People follow up. Can you ask this? And it's hard because the 24 hours goes and the the status has disappeared. So I figured let me maybe use this platform as sort of as an extension. Some of the hot and heavy topics that I'll write about to kind of expand on them over here. Just checking my watch because today is I don't know when you'll see this, but today is Yom HaShoah here in Eretz Yisrael, or maybe around the world, and in about 40 minutes or so they will sound the siren here. So I don't want to have a heart attack on screen, and I've been vocal about the sirens here regarding the commemorative days. Maybe we'll talk about it. So anyway, the point is that I wanted to use this podcast to sort of serve as an extension of my WhatsApp status, to talk about ideas that I have, things about Eretz Yisrael, maybe some Torah, the good, the bad, the ugly, maybe talk about different things about Aliyah and help, and maybe we'll have guests. Does that mean that I'm going to have somebody sitting next to me here on this bench? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't have to be professional. I also know that I say the word a lot because I'm not a seasoned professional. So I actually thought about naming this the professional podcast, but I decided to go with the status. So anyway, that's sort of the genesis and what I'm trying to do here. I have some, I think like every day will kind of or whatever, so however often I do this, sort of reference some of the things that I spoke about or wrote about in the previous days and expand on it a little bit. When I was going through the motions of potentially doing a nice big podcast with a big hitter over here, I wrote myself a description of what I thought the podcast would be. So I'm gonna, I guess, share that because I still think that's what I want to do here, and I'm reading from a notebook here. And don't mind the pencil; it's just something to fidget with until I get more comfortable on camera. So basically, what I wrote is that this will be an honest, candid, clear-eyed look at Aliyah through a Torah perspective. People ask me, am I Zionist? And if you know me from my status, I'm extremely facetious and sarcastic. I troll a lot. I know which buttons to push for certain people or certain groups of people. Those who know me long enough don't take me too seriously, and they should know that I'm always talking about the klal, never really talking about an individual person. These are just more broad ideas. But some of the stuff people started calling me was an evangelical Zionist. One person called me an evangelical Zionist, and that name kind of stuck. And it's funny because I don't even know what Zionism is, to be honest with you. Obviously, I know the term. I don't know what it means. To me, it's a buzzword. Haredi is also another one of those buzzwords. So I have no idea. But when I talk about making Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, to me, Zionism is Tzion, and that's a holy thing. Secular Zionism, I don't know. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point. But my point with bringing this up is that I want to talk about Aliyah through a Torah perspective. Come here and live a Torah life. Whether that's religious Zionism or not, I don't know. I don't like labels. But my focus is on bringing Torah families here and showing people that you don't need to be, like a quack to live here. I was talking to a friend of mine, Nathaniel Rosen. He always botches my name, so maybe I'll come up with a different name for him. No, Nathaniel Rosen is a very well-known character here, unbelievable person here in Eretz Yisrael, and he mentioned to me at some point, we just need to make Eretz Yisrael normal again. It's not just for weirdos and quacks and only Bali Tshuva, or it's just a normal place for a typical normal Jew, whatever that Jew looks like, and it's true. And I want to kind of showcase that. So getting back to my description, I want this to be an honest, candid, clear-eyed look at Aliyah through a Torah perspective. I want to talk about Torah. I want to talk about everyday life in Eretz Yisrael for any type of person, wealthy, not wealthy, a learning guy, not learning guy, single, married, grandparents, children, whatever it may be. I want to kind of identify or speak to that group of people, and if I can't do it authentically because I may not be able to relate, I'll have someone that can. I want you to be able to see that, oh no, Eretz Yisrael really is for me. So what if I live in Lakewood? Aryeh Leib Deitch and his family, his wife Michal, and his whole entire family just moved here. They're from Lakewood. I don't know, I'm too old. No, you're not. Grandparents, great grandparents, Holocaust survivors move here every year. My kids are too young. No, they're not. So I want to really show that a lot of the myths you heard on Eretz Yisrael are actually myths, and they're not actually true. So that's one of the things I want to do. So it's really an honest and candid, clear-eyed look at Aliyah here, and everyday life. And one of my great passions here, sorry, I was a bunch of people walking by, it's super awkward. I'm very passionate about Nach. This might be the only ulterior motive I have. I do have a program called Second Nach, where we're learning usually two psukim a day, very clear on a sheet with translation and a little bit of elaboration. And we are almost done with Sefer Yoshua. It's about 2,000 of us, maybe 1850, 1900. And it's been unbelievable. It's almost a year. And I'm very passionate about Nach. It's something that I didn't learn in depth at all forever, really only since I moved here. And you see the beauty of Eretz Yisrael through it. And you see the beauty of Nach through Eretz Yisrael, and they go hand in hand. They are the same. They're one and the same, because Eretz Yisrael is our story, and Nach is our past, present, and future. So I'm very passionate about Nach. I want to talk about Nach a bit, and maybe do some really cool stuff like on-site videos at the different spots that I want to talk about. I know a lot of epic tour guides do that. I'm not a tour guide. I'm also not a Rav or a Rebbe or a rabbi or anything, so I don't really have authority to speak on Nach, but I'm passionate about it, and we have a great, huge army of Nach learners now, men, women, children from all around the world. Teachers, schools are learning it. It's unbelievable. So I want to maybe do some of that in person. Go out to near Yericho and go to Har Grizim and just bring it to life. I want to use the podcast to do that. Oh my gosh, I went off topic. Let's do this one more time. The description of this show: an honest, candid, clear-eyed look at Aliyah from a Torah perspective, where we're going to learn Torah and talk about everyday life in Eretz Yisrael, Nach, Hashkafa, the culture, different touring, work, family life, and the pros and the cons. There's not many cons, and that sort of stuff. So that's really the description of what it is, and each one of those elements, which I've already elaborated on because I'm an unprofessional, we'll get into. I did a podcast as a guest about 3 years ago with Michal Weichbrat of Homebound, an epic yid. You probably know who he is already. If you're seeing this, maybe you'll see it through his algorithm or my algorithm, or you know who he is. He's an unbelievable yid, him and his wife and his kids. They live out in Yehuda. Sorry, this flies everywhere. And I did a podcast with him. I think we were actually his first podcast, and a guest, my wife and I, and it was all about our Aliyah journey. So I will invite you to look that up. Just put in like Homebound Wolbrom, Wolbrom. You can see our Aliyah story. I thought it was pretty raw and pretty well done. Talk about being uncomfortable on camera. That was like the first time I ever went on camera. So I invite you to check that out. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. But for those who don't want to spend an hour and 20 minutes, just a real quick recap of that, a summary. Basically, I'm from Brooklyn originally, born and bred there. I lived there until I was about 30. I lived there for 7 or 8 years. Married with 2 children, and then we moved to Staten Island in 2010. I lived there for about 10 years, and then made Aliyah from Staten Island to Ramat Beit Shemesh in 2021. I asked yesterday or maybe the day before for people to submit topics or questions they had that I can address here. So one of the questions I got, I think from Yossi, I won't say his last name, a tremendous yid, tour guide, Geuli yid, like unbelievable guy over here. So he wanted to know a little bit of my Aliyah story. He's a new, as he calls, follower, which I hate that term. I have no followers. Nobody follows me. I try and follow Hashem, and nobody follows me. At best, my children and my wife, we're on the same journey, but I don't have any followers. I have people who read what I write. They share some of the stuff, but I don't have any followers. I'm not a leader, and I don't have followers. So Yossi sent in a question asking me for my Aliyah story, and then he also added that he noticed that I have a very aggressive way of preaching Aliyah. Why do I think that's the way to do it? And it's a very, very fair question. So I'll answer the second question first, even though we're really not supposed to do that. I'll just say that I don't have like a formula that I follow when I talk about Eretz Yisrael. I speak from the heart. I said this so many times. I wrote about this so many times. I'm not a real estate agent here. I don't work here. I gain nothing financially if people move here. Nefesh B'Nefesh doesn't pay me. I'm not an accountant here or an attorney here. Like, I have no negias to a personal gain if somebody moves here. Conversely, I'm somewhat of an introvert. I don't like big crowds. I don't like people. Put me out in the forest somewhere. The more people here, the more like uncomfortable I would even get. So I don't want people to come here for me. I want people to come here for Hashem and for Am Yisrael. And I believe so passionately that they need to come here, that you all need to come here, and it's because I love you. It's because I love Hashem, and it's because I love Am Yisrael, and it's because it pains me that we have Eretz Yisrael, and it's so unbelievable. And there's Gullus, and there's America, and there's England, and the UK, and South Africa, and Australia, and there's Eretz Yisrael here, and it pains me that we were sent out into Gullus, and Hashem gave us back Eretz Yisrael, and this is part of the Geula process. This is the kibbutz, and you're not coming home, and we need you here. So it comes from a place of love. I don't take out my phone and go, let me scream at people. It's not what it is. It's a frustration. It's a frustration of love. Sometimes I don't only scream or write angrily. I think for years and years I show the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. I show beautiful landscapes, and it's not because I want to show you a nice landscape. It's because I'm looking at a beautiful landscape, and I feel so connected to it. I just see the beauty beyond the picturesqueness of it. That's a word. I feel the ruchnius of it, and I want you to see it. That's not aggressive. That's love. And I think if somebody has been following me for the duration of my residency here, I think you get both. I think that certainly there are times where I'll be much more aggressive, much more intense. It comes from a place of frustration. It comes from seeing people that I love, and I really do. Another claim is that I don't have Ahavas Yisrael. I only have Ahavas Yisrael. If I didn't care about you, why would I want you here? If I hated you, then you stay there, I stay here. It doesn't make any sense. It's just coming from a place of love. Sometimes it's tough love, sometimes it's not, but it's never by design. I don't sit there and go, let me really scream at them. So Yossi, I appreciate the question. It's just my personality. I'm very passionate. I'm very intense, and I think that, and I'm very authentic. I don't script things. I don't think about, I think about what to write. I'm very deliberate with what I'm saying and how I say it, and nuance is so important to me, and I think I'm highly skilled at not only reading nuance, but delivering nuance. And but at the same time, it's not deliberately mean. It's just coming out passionate. And I think that the people who, well, so you live here, Yossi, so you're in a little bit of a different category, but I think most of the people in Chutz La'aretz that get the most upset are the ones that are really, feeling guilty or feeling upset at themselves. I know this from just thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of interactions with people, many of them the same. I know already who's going to say what, because I know what buttons to push, and I know what gets them going. And most of the time, it's like feeling guilty, it's feeling frustrated. Meaning when the rough feedback I get. So it's not by design. I'm not aggressive by design. It's just my personality. I think I could speak aggressively good and aggressively, harif. So that's just who I am. One thing for sure, whether it's the status or whether it's here on video, whether it's a proper podcast, like, you're going to get authentic. I don't care about money. I don't, not because I'm wealthy. I'm definitely not. I have my way, and I'm not catering it to an audience. I'm not catering it to anything. I'm not like a Tucker Carlson, Candace, who's like, I don't know, crazy people in general, but like, there's no motive of how I speak. It's just authentic. So that's that. Now back to the question. So I moved here in 2021. I grew up in Brooklyn. I went to Torah for like 14, 15 years. My DNA is, super Hasidish. Not that I grew up Hasidish and changed, but just genealogy. My family, very, very Hasidish. I'm a 10th generation descendant of the Baal Shem Tov straight, all the Rebbes, all that. So I have a very Hasidish blood. And I guess I grew up yeshiva style. I wouldn't say yeshivish, because Lakewood would look at me and say you're barely from, and I wouldn't say modern Orthodox, because modern Orthodox would say you're the most Haredi person I know. So I don't know, yeshiva style. I grew up in Brooklyn. I went to Torah. That's my background, and with that came a lack of recognition or realization of the enormity of Eretz Yisrael. I didn't know anything about Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael. I thought only wackos lived there. I thought people ended up there and then they stayed there, like their families were there. And I thought that, weirdos moved there, Zionists. I didn't know that it was a mitzvah to move there. I didn't know that it was even forget a chiyuv, we'll get into that another time, chiyuv, not chiyuv, but I didn't know it was a thing that normal people did. And I didn't know that probably until I was, in my 30s. That's how it is. I didn't learn Nach other than in class, which I didn't learn. And I went through the motions, Gemara, some Chumash, nothing. I didn't have any, I didn't come from a Zionist family, so we didn't, Israeli Day parades, like, I didn't know what that was. In fact, as embarrassing as this sounds, I think it was like, I was 38, so this is probably like 2019 or 2020. I was in shul and there was a commotion, and I know what the commotion was, and it was basically a fight between whether or not they should say Tachnun, and it was Yom HaShoah. And I was like, what are you guys fighting about? Or I asked after davening, like, what was that fight? And it was like, oh, not how, it was whether or not to say Tachnun, and I had no idea what Yom HaShoah was. I'm talking about a 38-year-old man living in New York. I had no idea what it was. And I'm on social media, especially at the time, Facebook, Twitter. I had no clue. Could be I heard the term, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. It's just like, and I'm a worldly person. I just didn't know. So that's sort of like my background. I came as a kid one time, and then I didn't come for probably 15 years. I came on a work trip, and it was beautiful, great, typical tourist. I felt very safe here. It was a good feeling, and then it dissipated like everybody else who comes and goes. I came back one or two other times. In 2017, we came as a family for the first time. Had a beautiful trip, very nice. Again, it was very touristy. We went to the holy sites. We went to some of the more, I don't know, restaurants, and we're not like adventurous people, but maybe the Dead Sea, whatever it was. We did typical tourist stuff. It was my kids' first time here. I think they had a nice time. I hope they had a nice time. And then we came in 2019. 2019 was where things started to change. In 2019, we came for the 9 days. Nava, who's my wife, she wanted to come and do a proper Tisha B'Av week here in Eretz Yisrael in the Old City. Really start connect. And I think at that point already, our family was changing. I don't know what that means, but we were feeling like much more connected to important things in life. My wife and I were on the Chevra Kadisha, very, very active members, and we just started getting a lot more serious about life. Baruch Hashem, we were, always from and all that, but just started taking life more serious. We came in 2019 for the 9 days, and my wife came back and basically said, what are we doing in New York? And I was like, I don't know, living an awesome life. And I think my wife enrolled my little daughter at the time, in some sort of Hebrew lesson. I think things started like percolating at that time, and she enrolled my daughter in Hebrew, and then I think went a few times and then stopped. But that sort of like planted the seed. COVID came, and we were very involved in the unfortunate deaths of hundreds of people, literally, and started really getting serious about life. And my wife said, we're out. Like, they closed the borders here in Eretz Yisrael. At the time, you couldn't come in, very reminiscent of now. And she started the process, and I was like, we can't. I mean, you got to be kidding me. But we were working from home at that point because it was COVID, and we saw that we were able to operate. I think our company saw that we were able to work at a high level, even remote. And she started the process, and I was like, I like to joke kicking and screaming, but obviously I wasn't, because I'm pretty stubborn. I don't think I would have moved if I didn't want to move, but I kind of just let go. And it was hard. It was very difficult, and I didn't want to move. But not enough to not want to move. I knew it was the right thing, so I was saying no, but signing the paperwork. I was saying no, but looking at apartments. I was like all that. So that's sort of what happened. Nava does get all the credit, as she said in our podcast. She got the call. She got an Aliyah. She got an Aliyah. Let's say she got called up. She heeded the call. She dragged her family, myself and my children, with her, and it took about 6-7 weeks. of me living here. I'd never been to Ramat Beit Shemesh for more than 2 minutes before actually landing, and it was at the tail end of COVID. And it took about 6-7 weeks until I really let go of my frustrations here, and the rest is really history. Eretz Yisrael and the Kedusha hugged me back, and it's been like unbelievable since then. So I pretty much started doing my statuses as we were, I think, making Aliyah, like the packing. I think that's where I started. It could be a little bit before, but that's really where it was, and the rest is really history. So that's how I got here. I became more fanatic over time, which is great. I think that if somebody comes here and doesn't change, there's something wrong. I don't see how that can possibly happen. If you come here and you're the same person, even a year later, that's interesting. If you're the same person 2 years later, you're missing something. You're definitely missing something. You could be moving in this direction, that direction, but you're moving up. Like you can't not. It's so unbelievably holy here that either it spits you out, which absolutely happens, in which case you go back. But if that doesn't happen, like you're moving with the tide. Here in Eretz Yisrael, you're either like you're moving. So I had people, and I don't want to get too personal or say something that I will regret. But looking back, I've a decent amount of people that I knew before who like won't talk to me anymore. You change, you're a different person. That's okay. I came here to be a different person. I think I'm a better person. I may be talking about topics that you don't like anymore. You may have known me as a really quiet person who comes, like, you may know me as Staten Island Eli, but this is Eretz Yisrael Eli, and this is my authentic self. This is the journey Hashem brought me on. This is my neshama, gravitating towards the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. And maybe it made me a worse person. I don't know. Maybe more aggressive. Maybe I speak bad about. I don't know. But I'm going with it because I feel like I'm a much better person, and I feel like I'm part of Am Yisrael for the first time in my life, and I feel like my family's part of Am Yisrael, and I feel like we're on this Geula journey, which we will talk about. So that's sort of how we got here, and I can get into the details, and we will get into the details, in subsequent episodes. But I wanted to kind of give I just have sun and flies in my eye. Coffee, made a bracha before, of course. I'm also a coffee snob, if you've seen my statuses. So this is a delicious espresso made with my very fancy machine over ice, because Baruch Hashem, the summer has arrived. Okay, so that's a little bit of my background. My wife is here. I'm 45. I have 3 beautiful children, Baruch Hashem. I have 22-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, and then I have a 12-year-old daughter. My 22-year-old girl, Baruch Hashem, got married last year. She lives here in Eretz Yisrael. She lives very close to us, and actually she lives about, I could probably throw a ball to her house from where I'm sitting right now. I could see her Merpesa, her porch. Not spying on you, but she lives here, and Baruch Hashem had a little boy about 4 months ago. The pride and joy of my life. Anybody who is a grandparent knows that. So yeah, I'm a grandfather. I'm a 45-year-old grandfather. I was telling somebody yesterday, we were talking about age. I said age is just a number, which is a cliche. But what I mean by that is, like, I feel 85. I am 45, and I act like I'm 15. So age is just a number. And what a bracha, Baruch Hashem, to have a grandson. He is like the best. Bli Ayin Hara. And for all of you on that journey, whether you're a child now or you're a grandparent, Mirza Hashem, you should all have you should have generations come out of you and be able to reap the benefits and have nachas from all children. They should all be healthy. So Baruch Hashem. So it's the 3 of us, my son-in-law and my little grandson, and that is my core family. Maybe a month after we made Aliyah, my wife's sister moved here also with her family, the unbelievable Ben Sion and Chagit and co. And they live here. My mother-in-law moved a few months later, so she lives here also right next to us. And my wife's other sister lives in Yerushalayim. She moved probably a year later. Some of my wife's family members have lived here, moved back, they come and go. I don't know their full status, and I don't want to ask, but my wife's family is very, very connected to Eretz Yisrael. Some are not, some are. Her whole family doesn't live here, but a bunch do. Amir Hashem, more will move. In terms of me, I have two siblings who are Baruch Hashem married family. They live in New York. And my father is in New York as well. I don't have any immediate family or close family that lives here in Eretz Yisrael. Not yet anyway, and Mirz Hashem, that will change as well. So that's a little bit about the family. We'll get into the schools, we'll get into all that stuff. I actually got a really interesting request, I think it was yesterday, from a mayor. I don't know most of the people that I communicate with, I'm sorry. Sometimes I ask for their name, like if they ask me some personal questions and they want me to add them to my contact, sometimes I'll ask for a name, but generally if there's like a name there, I'll just hit add and it just says like their first name. So a mayor asked me a really interesting question. He said that for this podcast, it would be great, more flies, it'd be great to kind of profile the different neighborhoods. I don't know if he means throughout Eretz Yisrael, but let's just say even if he only means here in Ramat Beit Shemesh, to kind of talk about the different neighborhoods. Let's say Mishkafayim, Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, Ramat Beit Shemesh Gimel, and Daled, and Hey, which is super popular in Neve Shamir. Bet is a show in and of itself. Ramat Shiloh, I said Mishkafayim already. There's Rothstein now, which is not in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, and talk about some of the communities there, maybe some of the shuls, to kind of give perspective to those on the other side of the ocean who are thinking about Aliyah. And I think it's a great idea. I don't know that I'm the best person for it. I think that I'm very honest, and I'm not a realtor, so I can give my honest opinion, but I'm definitely not an expert. You also mentioned maybe having like representatives from different shuls. Very cool stuff. I think that's something that I would consider in the future. I don't know, again, having like someone from a shul standing next to me, is conducive to this kind of a format. I don't even know if we could fill up a full episode, but maybe I can do some independent research and come back to the table with I guess information about the different communities. But I think it's a great idea. I remember when we were looking at apartments, there was one realtor, I don't remember the name, and I wouldn't say it anyway, who had this really great YouTube videos where he drove around the different communities. I had never been to Ramat Beit Shemesh, and I became familiar with the streets because it would say Lachish, 4 bedrooms or whatever. I alone 4 bedrooms, but what does that mean? Google Images or Google Maps or Google Earth, whatever, really doesn't have great stuff over here. Maybe that's security-wise, whatever the case may be. But he actually drove through the different blocks, and it was pretty cool. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Maybe I'll go through the communities. I'll probably need to be more comfortable on camera in order to do that. But I think it's a great request. So thank you, Mayor. Whoa, that's a B. Amir Tashem will take care of that. What else do we got here? Just looking at some of my notes here. Okay, so I have a platform. It's on mine, NGL. I think it stands for Not Gonna Lie. I think Instagram owns them, but you can basically send an anonymous question, and it truly is anonymous. So when I fly, because I don't like to fly and I don't sleep much on the plane, I kind of like do this NGL thing. I'll submit a link, and people can ask anonymous questions, and it really is anonymous. I cannot see who it is. I can maybe guess based on the question. I got kind of good at that, but the comments that come in, I used to share like all of them, but when I would fly, but some of them got a lot, some of them get a little bit mean, and I stopped doing that. But some of the ones I got yesterday regarding topics to discuss were quite interesting. Okay, so I had a couple of posts. Let's just start right with yesterday's status posts. One of the things that I mentioned yesterday was Yom HaShoah here, and well, as you all know, we're in the middle of a war, and one of the more profound or interesting or intense, let's call, parts of the war is are the air raid sirens. I status all the time when there's sirens in the war. I know some of it's like anxiety, some of it's just like killing time, some of it's wanting to actually be helpful. But we get a lot of sirens here. We get pre-alerts, and I'll tell you, I don't even know how many sirens I've gone through. I don't know, maybe 1,000 since I'm here, maybe less, maybe 500, 600. I don't know. But each and every time there is a siren, and before the siren, I see it on my phone. It'll come up, and we have pre-alerts now. Like, I know the siren is going to sound, and even if I know it's going to sound, and I'm not particularly scared of missiles, which is a crazy thing to be saying. I just have become so used to them, and I think I take it for granted, and I really have pretty decent emunah and bitachon and Hashem to keep us safe here. I'm not like scared of a missile coming and killing me, but no matter how many times that happens, and in fact, when I know a siren's going to come, I usually go outside and like film it, see if I can catch, our air defense, intercepting. A lot of people do that here. Even though I know it's coming, every time that siren starts, it makes my heart jump. When I'm in New York, because when it's not war, I go back every couple of weeks, or it's been elongated significantly. But when I go back, my office is in Muncie, and the private fire department over there, the very opening of their like sirens sounds like the siren over here, and every single time I will jump because I'm not getting anything on my phone. I'll be like in a meeting, or I'll be on the phone, or I'll be talking to someone, and like I start hearing it and I jump. When I'm in New York, I often go to Brooklyn for Shabbos, and the Brooklyn pre-Shabbos siren, the very beginning, that first second sounds like our siren, and each and every time it makes my heart jump. And that's me, and I'm an adult, and I'm really not scared of the sirens. I don't want to throw out a percentage or speak with any hyperbole, but I think it's fair to say that a huge majority of people here, when they hear a siren, they jump. And it's just one of those things. One of my pet peeves is people posting videos of the sirens and having the siren play. Like, you can be tapping through your statuses or scrolling through Instagram, which is not recommended, and you may see a video that somebody posted and there's a siren. You will jump, or somebody will jump. It's scary. The PTSD, the trauma. I'm not a clinician, and I don't even want to talk like that type of language as if I was. But people have trauma. Adults, children, obviously the chayalim, the chayalot. We need to be sensitive to that. Why am I saying this all? I'm saying this all because on Yom HaShoah and on Yom HaZikaron, which is next week, I think, right? They play sirens. They air sirens here. And we're about 2 or 3 minutes away from a siren playing here. Maybe I'll be live, so I'll play it. And the very opening of the siren, I'm talking like the first half a second, sounds like the same air raid siren, and it makes people scared. You have kids who are in school right now, Baruch Hashem, and yes, the mower is going to tell them it's coming, and we all know, and it doesn't matter. As soon as it plays, the heart jumps, and we're in the middle of a war now. And I remember last year, I knew it was coming. I went out on my porch to film, and there was a whole group of kids in the park, and I knew it was going to happen. I have it on film. I think it was last year, or maybe it was the year before, and we've been in war since 23. And I filmed it, and as soon as the siren started, all these kids started screaming and running. It's not worth it. Why do they have to play that sound here? It drives me crazy. Play Ani Mamin, play Hatikva for all I care. Like, whatever it is, why play that sound? Why make people jump? I think it's so absurd. Whether you like Yom HaShoah, whether you like Yom HaZikaron, whatever, I don't care. The point is, be sensitive. All right. I think we actually went on plenty long for the first time. So we'll do a wrap up here. I appreciate you guys getting this far if you did. I'm sorry for any lack of professionalism with the video editing or the umming or the thinking, or even if the even if this first episode was not so interesting, but you got to start somewhere. I do hope and expect them to get progressively better, for them to get progressively more structured, so that you know what you're getting. I think it'll just be more so of an intro. We'll go through some thoughts, some news, and hopefully each time I'll be able to bring like a new twist. Maybe we'll talk about real estate one day, we'll talk about education one day, we'll talk about you know, whatever it may be, jobs here, professional opportunities, things like that, and mix in some follow-ups of some of the status posts, some of the hot and heavy ones, as I've been calling it, and then call it a day. But I think that'll be mostly the structure. So, all right, I need to get this first one out. I was going to talk about the sirens on Yom HaShoah, and I was ranting about them, and then a message popped up on my phone saying you are completely out of storage, and then I realized we weren't even recording anymore. And then as I was trying to figure out what to do, the Yom HaShoah siren started, and it all just threw me off. So I figured it was a good sign to actually cut the video short over here. So we'll do that. I'll hopefully figure out how to edit it and get it up onto YouTube. Maybe pull out some clips for status, which I don't think so, because I don't think I said anything interesting. I feel so cringy telling you to like, share, and subscribe, because I just don't do that. But like, share, and subscribe, I guess. I don't know. If you're not into YouTube, which I'm not, I don't even have YouTube on my phone. I installed it to upload this like really crazy response video that Nava and I did to Rabbi Shaf's comments on Eretz Yisrael. So I have that. I have the app on there, and I think I took it off. I don't use YouTube, so I will reinstall it. I'll put it back on. But if you don't use YouTube and you do use WhatsApp status, and you want to see little tidbits, some of the more raw things that I write about and share, I invite you to do so. You can send me a message on WhatsApp. Put my phone number. I don't know. 917-613-8901. I don't know. Send me a WhatsApp and I'll add you as a contact. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. I don't know how to close it. I need like a good close, but I don't have one. So thank you for watching, and make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael so we can see you here. I don't have to talk about Eretz Yisrael because we're all going to be here. It's like talking about the obvious. So come home, think about it, learn about it, and have a great day.